Hello and welcome. So today's video is going to be a true crime video, and it's going to be all about the case of Arsenic Sally. Sarah Parker was born in Clover in Essex on the 9th of July 1809. In 1828 she married Richard Chesham when she was 19 years old and pregnant. He was a farmer and they had 6 children, all sons. Having so many children put a massive strain on their finances. In January 1845, 2 of Sarah's children became ill. Joseph and James, aged 8 and 10, both fell ill with stomach pains and vomiting. They both died, and the doctor concluded that they had both died of cholera. But locals were extremely suspicious about their deaths and thought that they had been poisoned. Their suspicions were then brought up again the next year when the son of a neighbour died. Solomon Taylor had been a healthy lad until he visited the Chesham house. There, Sarah had given him rice pudding and an apple turnover. Soon afterwards, Solomon had fallen ill and died. Solomon's body was exhumed by leading toxicologist Alfred Swain Taylor. He found no evidence of poisoning, but decided to ask for Joseph and James's bodies to be exhumed and tested. When he examined their bodies, Alfred found yellow arsenic in their stomachs. On the 11th of March 1857, Sarah was tried for the murders of her children. She was acquitted by the jury after 10 minutes because even though there was arsenic and other poisons in her home, something that would have been in every Victorian home, there was no evidence or witnesses to say that she had used the poison on her children. She was then tried for the murder of Solomon Taylor. Sarah was again acquitted, this time by the judge, as there was no evidence that he had been poisoned. The public were not happy with the verdict. They were convinced that she was a murderer, with the Times newspaper calling her an accepted and reputed murderess who walked abroad in the village unchallenged and unaccused, and all the inhabitants had seen her children buried without remark or outcry, though they were clearly convinced that there had been foul play. The newspaper also ran articles accusing Sarah of offering to poison others for free. Other newspapers started accusing her neighbours of being compliant with Sarah's crimes, as they did not immediately report their suspicions to the authorities. Sarah was ostracised in her local community, with people shouting "Arsenic Sally" at her in the street. Suspicions about Sarah were once again heightened when her husband Richard died in May 1850. Richard had been ill with tuberculosis for a while, and Sarah had nursed him through his illness, never leaving his side. She had fed him milk thickened with rice and flour, and had not let anyone else feed him. After Richard had died, an autopsy revealed small traces of arsenic in his stomach. The police arrested Sarah and found a sack of flour which contained enough arsenic so as to be visible to the naked eye. Sarah was only charged with attempted murder, as there was not enough arsenic in Richard's body to be fatal. It was argued that Sarah had fed Richard only small amounts of arsenic at a time, instead of a large amount in one go, in order to weaken him so his body would find it harder to fight the tuberculosis. A witness called Hannah Phillips also came forward saying that Sarah had offered to poison her husband for her, and that she had talked about plans to poison her own husband. So Sarah Chesham was found guilty of attempted murder and publicly hanged on the 25th of May 1851. Her execution took place on the roof of the Chelmsford Prison Gatehouse, and around 6,000 people watched it. She was the last woman in the UK to be executed for attempted murder. But since Sarah's execution, many people have had questions about the fairness of her trial and the strength of the evidence against her. So at her trial, Sarah did not have any legal counsel, and also she was not allowed to call any witnesses of her own. There is also the fact that the jury was most probably influenced by the press. So in 2019 there was this BBC show called Murder Mystery and My Family. In the show, historical convictions that had resulted in an execution were re-examined to see if there had been a mistrial. Sarah's case was featured in this programme, and the experts concluded that Sarah's victims could have died of natural causes, and therefore her conviction was unsafe. In 2020, the Criminal Case Review Commission was asked by Robert Buckland QC, the then Justice Secretary, if they could review Sarah's case to see if she was due a posthumous pardon. In 2022, they ended up refusing to give Sarah a pardon because they said that there was a lack of evidence to cast doubt on Sarah's guilt. So arsenic at the time was very easy to buy. You could buy it in your chemist. Many people used it for rat poison, and you could also find like arsenic in your wallpaper because it was very good for making the colour green. But a couple of months after Sarah's execution, an act was passed by Parliament to put restrictions on the sale of arsenic. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.